A rich girl fell in love with a poor boy and got pregnant before marriage, but now she finally regretted it. To marry him she ignored her father's words, and cut ties with her family. Now she finally realized, love without stability was worth nothing, so she no longer wanted to suffer with him in a tiny rental. When she tried to leave, she and Chae-yu had an argument. In their struggle, Rose accidentally tumbled down the stairs. Seeing this happen, Chae-yu panicked and rushed her to the hospital. He waited outside the operating room, and was told her water had broken early. It meant delivery would begin soon. Though premature, the baby was healthy. On the table, Rose cried out for her parents in pain. Her boyfriend stood by helpless and worried. He had no choice but to call her family, and told her father she was giving birth at the hospital, hoping they would come see her. But Man Jong said he no longer had this daughter. Whether she was giving birth or not had nothing to do with him. He hung up the phone coldly, though on the surface he acted like he didn't care. Hearing she was risking her life in childbirth still made him uneasy, because no father truly hates his daughter. So full of worry, he rushed to the hospital. But once there, he didn't dare show himself. Instead, he glared angrily at Chae-yu, because hearing his daughter call for her mom in pain made him feel bitter. He covered his ears, trying not to hear her cries. He couldn't bear that his beloved daughter, at just 20, had to endure this. Only parents could understand that feeling. Each cry from his daughter pierced his heart like a blade. Finally, after her efforts, the baby was born. The doctor happily announced it was a healthy baby girl. Chae-yu held the baby excitedly and showed her to Rose. She was beautiful like a little angel, with a birthmark on her right hand. So they decided to name her Ling Long. But Rose was still weak after birth, and full of resentment. She didn't even want to look at the baby. After discharge, no one came to care for her. Her boyfriend rushed home after work to cook every meal. Now Chae-yu not only cared for her, but also the baby. He had to finish chores before heading to work, but leaving them home alone made him uneasy. Still, he had to work to survive. When Mei Shu learned her daughter had given birth, she argued with her husband, asking why she wasn't told in such a moment. Ignoring his objections, she insisted on visiting their daughter. Man Jong couldn't stop her, so he went along. Maybe this time he could bring her back. But Rose had postpartum depression, and hated the sound of the baby crying. When she saw her parents arrive, it was like seeing her saviors. Mei Shu hadn't seen her in 7 months and was shocked. The once cheerful daughter now looked worn and tired. They hugged and cried together. Rose had enough of that life and wanted out, so she left with her father without hesitation. Even as the baby cried in bed, she didn't look back. When Chae-yu came back at lunch, planning to cook for her, he saw Rose getting into her father's car. He tried to stop her, but it was too late. The woman he loved had abandoned him and the child. He ran after the car, calling her name, but 2 legs could never outrun 4 wheels. Back home, Rose was in poor shape. She was blank-eyed and refused to speak. Her father felt heartbroken, and told her to come back to being his princess. As long as she returned, she would be the jewel of the family again, and he would handle everything for her. She just needed to heal and be her old self. Chae-yu, wanting her back, left the baby with the landlord, and went to her house, but she refused to return. She was done with poor living, and wouldn't go back to that old rental. After 7 months of hardship, she realized her home was better, so she didn't stop her father from throwing him out. After being kicked out, Chae-yu was also warned. Just then the landlord called, saying the baby wouldn't stop crying, so he rushed back home to care for her. The next day he held the baby again, hoping to bring Rose home. He believed when she saw their daughter, she would change her mind, but he didn't expect her father had already arranged for her to go abroad. Only by leaving the city could she forget the painful memories. When he came to her house, her grandmother told him the news. They were never meant to be and would part eventually, so she asked him not to bother her granddaughter again. They were both young and would live their own lives, but he couldn't accept her leaving, so he took the baby and rushed to the airport. Though Rose felt reluctant inside, she had enough of hardship and didn't want to go back. When he arrived at the airport, it was already too late. What he didn't expect was, when he returned home, the landlord evicted him, because rent hadn't been paid for too long. Now Chae-yu had to wander the streets with his daughter.